Good evening, everyone. This is BremSter, just making sure all of the setup is working. Today has been another insane day. I still have a busted wrist. This time it's strapped up, so we'll see how it all goes. That's going to slow me down. Ooh, that's taken off the thing holding the bandage on. Let me see if I can put that back on. That's not great timing. It's been an interesting time on the channel. There's been a lot of work done. As many of you may know, I've got a paid assistant, administrative assistant at the moment, who is helping me with some administrative tasks on the channel to try and fix up some issues, just because the channel is so old. And there's some things from early on in the channel which were done because I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm trying to clear those up, fixing not so much puzzle attributions, but making sure that it's clear in the descriptions of my puzzle videos that that the puzzles are owned by the puzzle creators and I don't claim ownership of the puzzles. Also, a new thing that has come up, of course, is that in no way does me publishing these on the internet give any rights for AI companies to use the content for anything. Now, if they choose to do it anyway, there's nothing I can do about that, but I do want to make it clear that I'm not authorizing that by publishing these videos. I can't stop them just scraping content, but I can make it clear that that's not what I want to have happen. Also, updating links into the new format, since Sven has introduced that a few years ago, and creating some playlists that people can find the puzzles through. So that is all some work that's been done, but all of that is taking time and therefore costing money. But at the same time, I'm basically taking my house apart for renovations that are happening and doing it with a busted wrist. But today I'm going to try and relax and enjoy some puzzles like I did last night. So we'll see how this goes. I hope the stream is working and we will play some more puzzles. I've solved 315 puzzles, so I'm progressing very slowly, but we will see how we go. What is going on? I'm getting audio from something. I'm getting audio bleed through from something, and I don't know what it is. What is going on? Oh, I know what it is. Okay. You may have been getting an echo there. Hopefully that is no longer the case. Okay. So this all hopefully seems to be working. Let's play some puzzles. So mismatch. All regions must have different shapes. So these must be connected because all regions must have different shapes, which means that is going to be the U. The T's, these must be connected. And now the only way I can draw the T is like that. This must be part of an elbow, but I don't know how that's going to work. This now must be part of a H shape. So how can I draw that H shape? Well, this needs to be part of a 3. Yeah, I need to draw 2, 3. I basically need to draw a T in here with an extra. So the only place I could see to draw the T with an extra, if I move to this, would be that, I think. Because, except that doesn't work because that makes 3 ones. So that's not going to work. So have I already made a mistake? I don't see how. Hey, butterfly. No, I could do it like that. So yes, if I make this part of the H, if I make this the 3 vertical, because it has to be part of something. So it was either part of a 2 here, at which point if this was the 2 length, then that would need to be the T. But that doesn't work because that leaves 3 single cells. So that doesn't work. So this can't be part of the 2 length. It has to be part of a 3 length because there's only 2 and 3 lengths, which if that's part of a 3 length, that's part of a 3 length, and that's where the H is. So that means this has to be that, and I can clear the pencil marks. And then we've got a 1 and a 2. So If I drew this way, that would leave a 1 and a 2. That doesn't work. So I have to draw it that way, and that completes the puzzle. Okay, all regions must have different shapes. So I've got a 1, so I can't finish a 1. That must go to at least a 2. This must go to at least a 2. Now, if this came down, this would be trapped being a 1 because it has to be a different color. So this can't come down. So this stops it as a 2. This must come out but can't stop at a 2. This must come out because it can't stop as a 2. This must come out but it can't, one of these has to grow. But now this must come out because it can't be yellow. Okay, this is difficulty 2. If yellow was to grow, then this is either a 2 or a 3. So yellow can't grow. That completes that. Oh, and that becomes of course, this wasn't 2 different regions. It auto-completed that, which I'm not a fan of. Is there a setting in this? And that completed that window. Is there a setting in this about autocomplete? There's not. So it's just going to keep auto-completing on me, which I'm not a fan of. Yeah, I'm not a fan of mismatch, I have to say. So these are part of the same region. Now, if we look at this, I can't do the horizontal here because it would go off the chart. So this has to come into the vertical. And if this comes into the vertical, considering the vertical is 4 vertical, I can't take the vertical up that way. So the vertical has to be those. So this has to do that, and that's the shape, and I can clear those. Now, these have to be part of the same shape, so I have to connect them directly. Now, these are part of the same shape. Now, I can't connect them that way because then it would have to do that. So that's not going to work. So the only way to connect it that I can see is that. So that has to be the aqua. But these two must connect, and the only way to do that is that. So this is now a 1. Now this, I need to fit this into this shape. The only place I could get a 3, because everything is rotating around a 3, is there. So it has to do that. There's no other way of making that fit, because I've got it's rotating around a 3x3 location with a 3. Oh no, I might be able to do this. No, if I did the 3 here, I'd need to go into one of those 2 squares. If I did this, no, I could do the 3 here. So I don't know, but I must take one of those 2 squares because the 3 is either in those 3 or those 3, but I must also take that because it either takes, and this, because it takes all of those. If it's those 3, it takes that, and it's those 3. And if it's those 3, it takes that and that. So it also takes that, but I don't know if which one of these 2 it takes. Now, I can't leave a single. Right, this must be a 2 because I can't make this 2 singles. And if I went to this way, this could be a 3, but how would I make this up? I don't think it can go this way because if I went this way, there's a border there. This would have to be a 3 elbow. Because I couldn't make it a 1 or a 2. And then I've got to figure out how to make this up. This would have to grow because it can't be a 1. It'd have to grow, it can't be a 2. It can't stop it as an elbow. It'd have to grow. And then I'd have... No, it'd just take all of those. And that would be fine. What if I grow the other way? What if I grow this way? Then this could be an L and that could be a T. No, I can't do this as an L. Because of this L here. So if I went this way, the question is, how do I fill this? I'd have to grow, but I can't stop it. I can't stop at 2. I'd have to take this. This would be an elbow and I couldn't complete it. The green must go this way. There's a new feature coming on the channel tomorrow morning. Well, a new special type of content coming on the channel tomorrow morning, which should be a new special type of content that persists for quite a while. Okay, everything must be size 5. See, these are the ones I was worried about, where it's like, I've got to put in 7 different regions and I've got to pay attention to how these complex shapes overlap. And this is going to just be awful. I'm really worried about these. I've got to come up with 7 different shapes that all must be different of shape 5. And it's just going to be blur. But this must come out. So now this must come out, which means yellow goes up and must continue, because I can't connect them up because then it'd be region size 6. This must come out and now can't come up because it'd overlap. So there's that. Now this must come up. And it's got to go left or right. I'm already broken. Because I can't do that. It's the same as green. I can't do that. So this must T. Okay. So this then comes up and out. Sorry, I may not have been clear about that. With green coming up out of here, yeah, it's tempting. With this coming up, and if I go this way, this can't continue because this would form the same sort of long L, and going up would form the same as yellow. So I couldn't go either of those, but I have to go one direction or the other. And if I go the other direction, the same thing is a problem. So I have to take both directions to avoid that happening. Now this comes up, I must take all of those, but I can't go up again or it's the same as yellow. So that becomes a W. Now, this has to come out, and now those are trapped. Now, this can't be a T, so it has to be whatever that shape is. And now everything has to come through this cell. So all of those are part of it. So this becomes a P. But if I brought this down, this would also be a P. So it must come to there, and that completes it. Okay, that one was not too bad. I quite like that one. Interesting. This can't be a single region because the L is in here. So this is part of an L, which can't be drawn that way because I leave 2 singles. Can't be drawn that way because I leave 2 singles. Can be drawn that way or that way, but it could also be drawn. No, it can't be drawn. So it could be drawn that way. It could be drawn that way. So there's a lot of options here. So what's the way out of this trap? Well, this can't be a solid L, and it can't be 2 2s. So this is a 1 and a 3. So there must be a 1 by 1 in here. Because I can't make it 2 2 by 2s, because then I'd have 2 2 by 2s. So the only way to avoid a 2 by 2s is for one of them to be a 1 and one of them to be a 3. So I can never leave a 1 by 1 anywhere when I place this L. So that doesn't work. 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 But that does. And that's the only way of doing it, because I can't do that and bring it up into an L. So if I put the 3 there, I've got a single 1 trapped. If I put the 3 there, I could take one of these, but I've got multiple singles trapped. If I put the 3 there, I've got a single trapped that I can't get. If I put the 3 there, I've got multiple singles, which because I have to come to here, I can't get. If I put the 3 there, I have to come in here and I've got multiple singles. So the 3 must go here. If I go this way, I've got multiple singles. If I go this way, I've got multiple singles. If I've got this way, I've got a single, and there must be a single over here. So that must be where the L goes. And then, this is where it gets interesting. I can't make this a 2 and a 1, because if I was to make do anything but make this a 3, it would be a 2 and a 1, and we know there's a single over here. So this has to be a 3, which means this now can't have its 3 there. Its 3 is there. And why do you... I don't like that it auto-completes the puzzle like this. Hey, missing deck. Now, is this actually full deck or missing a few cards? Because I got it wrong last night. I don't like that it completes it without me investigating whether these are done. Like, is there another solution here? And there's probably not, but it's full deck. Hey, full deck. All regions must have different shapes. So the question becomes, where is the single? I'm going to take this strap off my wrist. I'm finding it not very good for sitting at the computer. It's weird. This is the least time I've spent at a... Whoa, that's not good. This is the least time I've spent at a computer in the last couple of days in months and months and months and months and months, because moving heavy boxes and tiles and all sorts of stuff, it's been... but doing it with a busted wrist has not been fun. Okay, so where does the single have to go? These are all regions of size 6. So, and I can't duplicate shapes, but I know this color is different to this color, but I'm working only with regions of size 6. Now, I know what I want to do. I want to make this a T and have this as a single, and then this is a double and this is an L, and try and figure out whether I can do that work. No, I don't think I can. But we know that these are different colors. Now, if I isolate this off, this would have to come out and join green. Yeah, that would be a problem. If I isolate this off, this would have to come out and join green. And I couldn't continue green, because then this would be another single, because green, I can't have green on both sides. So that would end green, and this would be a double. And then I wouldn't have a single or a double anywhere else. So this would have to come out. This would have to come out. This would have to grow. This would have to grow, and I've got a problem. So yellow, and this is a terrible way of seeing this, but yellow here must come out. And now, but do I need a 5-cell polyomino? And actually 2 of the regions can have 5 cells. I could draw a 5-cell here, or I could draw a 5-cell here. Now, now there are 2 ways of technically doing a 5-cell, but only one of them can have a 5-cell. Because if I had 2 5-cells, that would leave 2 1-cells. So only one of them can potentially... Yeah, I'm not sure I need one. That's the trick. Because I could just run green around and make it a 4. But then I've got a problem with not being able to use a 2 anywhere else. I could see a solution. And it's all about mixing 2s, 3s, 1s, and 5s. So if I make this a 4, then I can play with 2 3s, which I can do, and a 1 and a 5. So by doing this, I've used a 2 and a 4, and as long as I can use a 1, a 5, and then 2 different 3s, I'm good. And I can do that. It's about counts. And this doesn't feel as logical as I might like, but I can do 2 3s here, and then I can do a 1 and a 5. And I've kept my counts different, which allows that to solve. And it was all about figuring out how to keep those counts different. One of the things to understand about when I stream on YouTube full deck is you're always going to be 10 to 15 seconds behind me because I'm streaming a video game. And the stream delay on a video game is longer. All regions are size exactly 4. Now this must come out and this must come out. They have to grow in different ways. This must come out. This must come out. Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Full deck. Now, if this comes this way, I can't hit this cell with anything. What could hit that cell? Nothing. Because red can't connect up with yellow, red can't connect up with orange, and red can't connect up with green. This cell here can't reach anything because red has to be different to green, which has to be different to yellow because of the fact that these have to come out. I can't hit any of those without making a 5-cell region. So orange has to come up, which means yellow has to bend, which means green must take that and then complete, and that completes the puzzle. I have to put 12 different shapes in this. I'm going to hate this. That must come out. That must come out and make a different shape. This must come out. Now, this must come out and can't connect, so it must come up to there. This must come out. This must come out and go somewhere. This must come out to here. Now, yellow is now complete to that. This can't form a W, so it must go to there. Have a good one, butterfly. Now, this must come out. I'm not going to enjoy this one, am I? One of these is going to have to take that square, and then the other one is going to have to take the square in that direction. So I already have a long L. So one of them is like that, and the other one is like that. So I can never form a long L or whatever these N shapes are anywhere else. So this can't come down because whichever one of these, oh no, green would make that shape. No, yellow can't take this one. If yellow took this one, it'd be the same as red. So yellow must come down and then green must come down. That's forced. Okay, because yellow would have been the same shape as red. And now blue can't come down because if blue comes down, it'll be the same shape as green. And now orange can't bend or it'll be the same shape as blue. Now this cell is the only way out for those 5 cells. So this becomes a P. Now, this must come out. Yeah, teal has to grow one, and it can't grow down here, or it'll be the same as blue. Teal has to be a U, so green comes out again. Green is the only one that can take that, and teal has to be a T. Green has to be a T. Now, purple now I don't think can go up. Because if purple goes up, no, purple could go up. It could be whatever that shape is. No, there's a few options here. Now we know that this must come out. Purple can't enter this cell. Could this be something else? No. This has to be red. Because if this was something else, it would come out and come out if it wasn't red or purple. It would come out and come out. Purple would have to come up, so it'd have to go up again, and then red is trapped. So it has to be purple or red. But it can't be purple, because the only way for it to be purple is for purple to be a full L, and then it'll be the same as green. So this is red. Red, so this is now down to only 9 cells. So it's 5, and then the last 2 of red and purple. So this color, these cells, like red can't reach any further than that, purple can't reach any further than that, and it can't even get to this cell, because to get to this one it'd need to be an I. Blue has to come out. Neither red or purple can get to that one. Purple can't get to this one without being the same shape as this blue, so blue takes that one. And blue can't be a P, so blue takes that. Red must take that. The only thing that can reach that now is purple. And now red has to be a plus, otherwise it's going to be the same shape as that, and purple comes to there. Wow. I don't know all the pentomino shapes, Sonolita. I'm just doing my best that I can. I have to admit, I'm finding this particular constraint quite disconcerting. Different shapes, every region must have one of each. So we've got border here and border here. So this must come up, then this must come up, then this, no, we don't know that. Well, yeah, this has to get out somewhere and it can't come through there. So this must take that cell. Now this must grow and this must grow, then this must grow. Now it doesn't have to grow any further. Now this color, which is a different color, must come up. Yellow has to get towards a red, so it must come up. So this must come up and this must come up. Now we're starting to hit problems because orange has to come up and get to a red. Yellow doesn't have to grow, but this has to, and that's 5 by 1. So blue can't grow. Hang on. This is a problem. No, it's not a problem. Oh, that's... No, that doesn't work. No, that's right. We now have to avoid them all being the same shape. So I can't stop. Each of those has to grow by 1. Except one of them can stay 4 by 1. But I need to make sure that they don't stay the same shape. And I can only see one way of doing that. And that's really, really interesting. No, I can't. No, that doesn't work. No, it does work. So I need to make one of them a 5x1, one of them a 4x1, and then two of them L's with different shapes. And I can do that. I can bring that across so that's a 5 and then an L. I can bring that across so it's 4 then and it's an L. That's a 4x1 and that becomes a 5x1. That's really clever. I'm terrified of this 6. What's this for? What rule set is this? Oh God, no. This is the rule set that made me want to give up the game. I'm going to give this a couple of minutes only. That must end. There must be one thing, and this must come through. Now, that could be yellow. This can't be yellow, and it can't be green. Now, green must continue, and then dead end. Green has gone into there, so that dead ends. That's the end of green. This must come out, because this has to be the same shape as yellow. But this has got its L now, so that is all the same. But this has to be the same shape as yellow. Yellow can't come down, so that's a border. I can't make this a T, so yellow has to grow. And I could make those the same now by just locking that off. It's the Gemini with Palisade that made me hate this game. So I could make these the same by just locking that off now, but I don't know that that's the case. Now these are different to yellow. If yellow was to grow here, like I need to make this into a T somewhere. If this was to come here and start coming down, that would start bringing this across here, which it could do. But in order to get this T, this is the problem I have, is there some sort of weird connectivity crap that allows these to connect up? I think I can see what's happening, but is there some sort of weird rotation thing that I can't see? Because, one of the things I've got, until they add an ability to draw a shape with this tool, like I can turn around and say, well, I'm working with, this shape, or I can draw like the lines of this, and then it allows me to select them and rotate them and flip them so I can map them to this and see everything. This is nearly impossible, because to me, these lines aren't perfectly vertical or horizontal, and they're more off on the vertical than they are off on the horizontal. To me, the lines horizontally, like if I make the lines so that they're horizontal with my bent eyesight, then the vertical lines, like to me, if to me, like if I was to figure it out and then draw it, the vertical lines to me, when I make the lines horizontal, are like that basically, which means when I'm trying to flip the shapes, I can't do it visually. I have to sort of close my eyes and do it in my head, which I can do for the simple shapes, but these complex ones, it's nearly impossible. So is there somewhere else I can bury this weird shape? Because that's the problem I had with the last one of these I hit was like there was another place you could make the shape work just cause. You are correct. Whether this goes up or down, it is going to form a domino. So I can see what's going on and I don't like it. I'm just going to test this because I hate this puzzle. No, it can't be that. So we had that, which is the equivalent of that, which ends that. This comes down, then this turns, then this turns, then this turns, then this turns. And then it would have to go up and it can't. So this is completely broken. So we get that, I think, but I don't know that it has to go into there, which was... I don't know where I was up to before I did all of that. So we've got this. So where does this go? This is the same shape as this. So if this grows, it dead ends in that direction. Okay, no, here we go. It's here, isn't it? This could go up. Except... yeah, neither do I. I mean, this feels right, but I don't know. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's probably right, but can I find a proof? No. No, I can't. Because it's just... Now, this must go both of those ways. So this now has to form... This now has to form at least one of those. And I can't go up, because if I go up, I need to form a three-piece without forming a thing, and I can't. I think that now has to do that and lock off, but that's wrong as well. This must come down. So red can't go up. Yes, it can. No. Yes, it can. If red goes down, I can't form this shape. Because if red goes down and does that, this is isolated and is the wrong shape. So red could take one of them, but not both. And if red came down and across, this is the wrong shape. So red couldn't do that. And if red came this, it would have to go up. I hate these. I think the way this works is that, which means that's a single. But that's wrong as well. I hate this sort of... These puzzles are just dumb. I suppose they don't. So you're thinking that, but that doesn't work. I can't take that. Could I take that? No. No, I can't. The problem here is this. Because purple has to come down. Yeah, that is correct. This has to be a 2x2. And that's right there, because this... This is red. Okay. But this has... I've got both borders here. So this has to take all of that. And now, because there's a border here, there's no border here, and this has to come down, and there's no border here, so this must be a border. And red can't form a 2x2 here. I can't use red to take a 2x2 with that square. And this is also wrong. These rotating shapes are just stupid. They're not logic puzzles. They're trial and error. There's no logical way of all the way back when I didn't have this taken in everything of saying, what is the next step? It's all if this, then this, then this, then this. Does that actually break or not? It can't be a P pentomino. Where do I put a P in red? I could put a P in there, and that's correct for this. How do I complete this? I could bring that down and bring that across. That could work. That could work. That could work. And those are two singles. Okay. Trial and error. I don't think these are logical solves. When you've got these Geminis on weird shapes, I don't think it's logical. Okay. They all must have different shapes. So again, one of these has to be a 1 and one of these has to be a 2. Because if this comes out, it immediately ends. And if it doesn't come out, it's a 1. If this comes out, it'll immediately end. So I've got a 1 by 1 and a 2 by 1 already committed in these cells. So I can't do a 1 by 1 or a 2 by 1. So this must come out, this must come out, and that's a 3 by 1. This must come out, so there's a border there. This must continue because I've got the two borders. This must come out, so there's a border there. Must continue because I can't stop at a 2 by 1. Now, this must come out because it's a different color. Can't stop at a 2 by 1. It must come out. This can't stop at a 3 by 1. This can't stop at a 3 by 1. This must continue now because I couldn't stop at an elbow, which means there's your 1 by 1. This is now locked off like that. This is now your 2 by 1. That's locked off. And I couldn't have any 1 by 1, so I had to take both. Hang on a minute. All different shapes with 49 cells. There is a border here, and this must take all of those. There's no border here, so there must be a border here. This must continue because I've got the L. If I'm having to compare different 6 or 7 cell shapes, it's just stupid. So there's a 1 or a 2 up here because this is a different. So this is either a 1 or it comes in here and is a 2. But I've got the same down here. Wherever this goes, it's going to form a 2 by 1 or it's a 1 by 1. But that cell is the same. No, it's not. It's not at all. Because this could make a plus and be fine. And this could make an elbow and be fine. Now I know this is not orange. Yeah, I got that, Sonalita. Using the same logic that states this, I mean, this can't extend beyond a plus. Yeah, I don't care about that, Keith. Some of these don't feel like logical solves. They feel like just gut. Try this, does it work? And I don't like that about this game. I think the question about this is where does the 1 by 1 end up? This single border cell is also bugging me. But I'm not seeing how to use it. I don't see that. There's no parallel here. That could get out. Oh, no, it can't. But this doesn't have to be a plus. One of these could be a plus. If this was a plus, that could do that and that. And we've met the criteria. I mean, maybe not exactly that, but... yeah, center is... Hang on. This is a single cell on its own. If I go into here and go up, then that's broken. Right. If I go into this cell and also into this cell. So, no, it could be a vertical. I could do that. No, I can't. Because then this is broken, because it'd then have to do that. Because I can't run those through. I think this has to be a single cell. If I took this, I couldn't take either of those. Could I take that? Could I make those all the same? Because then all of these would be borders and all of those would be borders. But then the question is, how do I fill this? Because those would all run through and I can't fill that. So the answer is no. So if I take one of these, I can't take the other. The question is, if I take this, are these already broken? Can I do that? Because then this would run through and this would run through, and maybe it doesn't work here because of this, but it might work going up. So I'm ignoring this. I'm thinking about those. Could I then do... No, well, that one's broken there. This is case testing. It's not logical solving. I know it's not logical solving. So I couldn't go down. Could I go this way, for example, and do that and that, which would make, sorry, that's that. This would run through, this would run through. So that would do that, that would do that. And I'm not sure why that's broken. That does not seem to be broken at all. So I can't say that the center cell doesn't take another one, but it couldn't take more than one more. But is the same logic applying here? What? If I did that and had all of those and had that and that with that and that, what's broken? Oh, good. Okay, so you have to do a really long chain to find out if I go this way, that becomes broken. So what you need to do is case, if I take this, then that forces all of this, forces all of this, forces all of this, and breaks that. So it's how many steps? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It's a 23-step chain you need to do to prove that's a single. And the only way I can see to prove it is to say if I was to go here, it would force that, force that, force that, force that, forcing all of those, which forces all of those, forces all of those. I've now got the two borders forcing that, and that's broken. You have to do all of that to prove that it breaks. So that's a 1. So this has to extend, making that a 2. This can't be a 1 or a 2, so it has to take both being a 3. That's a really long chain, though. This has to grow. Can't take orange. Actually, yeah, do I know? No, I don't know that border is a thing at all. Hang on, let me go back to here. This is correct. If it went this way... No, that's possible. So is it these corners now? This corner can't go that way, because if it goes that way, it can't stop, but that would dead end there and it would have to go up. Then it would have to turn and I'd be broken. So this can never take that cell. Must go up, has a border, must turn, can't go into that cell. This now must come out. Must then turn, forcing that up because I can't stop there. This can't enter that cell, so this is a different color going up. And I think I can do the same here. If this took this cell, that would dead end. I'd have to go up, that would force that, and then I'd be broken because I can't stop at 1, 2, or 3. So this can never take this cell. So this comes down, forces a border there, must come up. That can't take it. This is a different color that must come out. This can't stop there. But this is now on its L. So this must take all of that. There is a border here because they are on different sides of that border, so they can't connect up here. This must grow, forcing a border there. This must grow, forcing a border there. This must grow. And this is now a different color, which might be orange. Now, could this stop here, making an L? Orange would need to grow. Red would need to grow. Could this be orange? I don't see why not. I mean, green needs to grow, but it could connect up with orange. It cannot connect up with this top green whatever thing. Green came down, there'd be borders there. This is a different color. This must grow. If it came this way, red's going to have a problem. Because then red would take all of those, forcing that border, forcing red up, which would end red. That's not necessarily a problem. So that's not necessarily a problem. If this comes down, those become borders, and it must come down again, which ends it. I know there's a border there. And that would trap red in, which is either an L or a P, but I don't know which. So I don't know anything about that either. I think this can't go that way, because if it does, it continues and dead ends. And that causes a problem. So if this comes to here, those become borders. That must continue. No, it may not. It doesn't cause a problem for blue yet, but it forces this to grow. It might be able to stop there, but what does red now do? No, red's still got a way out. That's not a thing at all either. And this is just case testing. I don't like this. Where's the logic? Is there any? One of these two has to take this, and whichever one it takes it continues on and then ends. If red comes into here, then it comes through because of the double border and ends, and it becomes an elongated big L. If this comes through, it must continue through and come to here and then end. I think the problem is what happens if this top orange stops. Actually, no, that's not a problem at all. I don't like this vibe solving. Do they? If this comes up, that finishes. Well, it doesn't finish it. Light teal can't continue, so red goes through. Right. Wow. That's tricky. So if this comes up, it must continue and come up. Now, that doesn't end teal necessarily, but it does lock it off here. Now, this aqua thing can't now come down, so red goes across and locks off both orange and light teal. That is nuts. So this can't come up, but it must grow, so it takes that cell. But red can't be light teal, so it must do that, and there's a border here, which means red takes all of those. And now the borders are there, and red takes that. That was an incredible spot. This can't be red, so that ends red. It didn't, yeah, but the teal could have come up. It didn't end teal. Like teal could have come into this cell, but if it entered this cell, it must have taken this one. So it must have come up to here and ended like that because of the way the borders would have worked. Now, this couldn't have come down into here and continued, so it would have been red that would have had to have done that. And then both of these were locked off. That's really cool. Now, I haven't... Now... This can't be part of green. There is a border here. So those are all part of the same one. So this now must connect up because it can't be part of a 2x1. But this has come in. So that dead ends. Orange is now ended and this must grow and take all of those. Don't have a 3x1 in the grid at the moment. But this now has to pass through. So those all do that. Now, red can't stay as an L, so it becomes a P. Now, I need to take one more of these. And I can't use a 1 or a 2. So I'm only playing with the colors I already have. If orange comes into here, it couldn't not take that because then it's the wrong shape. And if it comes into here and comes down and locks that off, I'm left with a 1x1. So orange must come down. Blue can't stop, or blue could stop at a 3x1. But if it did, this wouldn't be a 2x1. This would be a 2x1, and that doesn't work. So the only way to complete this, because I don't have a 5 long L with a bend in the middle anywhere else in the grid, is to do that. That was tricky. This spot, that if this came up, it would be forced through, forcing red across, locking both of those off as normal L pentominoes, or tetrominoes, sorry, was very, very cool spot. That is a single. So this must come out and that causes it to end. This has to go somewhere. And it can't just take one of these because then it'd be the same thing because that has to do something. This must come out, hit a double border now, which means it continues. This has to come out, which means there is a border here and it can't connect up with that green. So it must continue this way. It can't stop as an L. It must do that. And that finishes off that yellow. This has to come out. But this has to come out, which forces a border there, which means this has to come out. Let's make that a different color. I can't stop there. It must come out again. It might connect up with this though. This is a different color, which must come out. Can't stop there. Actually, there's a couple of different ways of doing this. How is there not a couple of different ways of doing this? Like, I can see that. But why is that forced? I can see it's broken if orange comes into here. Because then this would have to either be a 1x1 or a 2x1 or connect up with green, which it can't do. So orange can't come into here. And orange can't come into here. So there is a border here, which means yellow comes through, hooking all of those up. This is a different color to yellow. It can't be a 1x1 or a 2x1. So that has to be a 3x1, forcing those borders. I'm trying to do the logical proof here. And this can't be a 3x1, so it has to go down. There's the logical proof. I know so many, as I keep saying this, and I know it's annoying, I've seen so many people play this game or stream this game, and they'll go, oh, boom, 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 that worked, and move on. I don't want to do that. That's a single, so I can't use a single anywhere else. So all of these must grow. That must grow, that must grow, so this is at least a 3. That must grow. This must grow, and this must grow, so this is at least a 3. This is a different color to blue. This is a different color, but I think these are going to hook up. Because this must grow. So let's make that a different color again. This must grow. And it can't be blue, so that locks that off. Oh my God, is this going to use up all of them? Because if this grew again, that would be another 3x1. And I can't connect it up to blue because then they'd be on the different. That must be that, and then blue must come down. That's using all of those tiny shapes. So now this must grow, but this must come out and can't stop. This is a different color. I really just want to make this a U. But I can't make any shape now a 1, a 2, or a 3. It's not possible. And yet they're all 3x3. So I'm only making 9 shapes. So they all have to contain a 4 and a 5, don't they? By math. Because all possible 1 shapes, 2 shapes, and 3 shapes have been used. There's no other way of drawing a 3 shape. The only ways of drawing 3 shapes. I could do 1, 2, and then grow in, yeah, because you must start with a 2 shape. And if I've got a 2 shape, which is a block and a block, then I have to add another block. If I add it to any of the side pieces, I end up with this shape. And if I add it to any of the ends, I end up with this shape. There's no other 3 piece. I know I should know that by now, but I don't. So I've used all the 1, 2s, and 3s. I can't use 2 4s. It would leave me with a 1. So I must use a 4 and a 5. Now, I can't grow this in either side direction. And if I grew this up, I'd be having 2 2s. So this now must be a U. And that locks that in. Okay. I'm making 4s and 5s. And I can see how to do it. I can see the solution, but I'm not sure how to prove it. Sometimes I feel it's just what fits has to be the proof. So this can't... So the solution, by the way, is this becomes a long L, that's a 2x2, this becomes a short L, and that becomes a P. That's the solution. But what's the proof that that's the only solution? I'm working with, right, I'm working with 4x4s or 5x5s. Here we go. That cell isolates that 4x4. So any cell that isolates a 4 area must be part of it because it's either a 4 or a 5. Now it can't connect up with blue. And if it came out, I'd be isolating off a cell. So I can't do that. So that must end and then that makes that. That's the proof for that one. Now, if this came out in this direction, this would have to be a different color. And I'm only working with 4s and 5s, but that means this would have to come around and that's more than 5. That doesn't work. So blue can't come this way. Let's make this blue again. And it must go up. And it must continue. And that makes the 4 and that makes the 5. And there's the logical proof for it. This is tricky. The problem I feel I've got here, sorry, I'm taking my jacket off, is I'm trying to logically explain puzzles I don't fully understand. And being the only person on the internet I've found who's doing this, size 5. So this is going to come out and it's going to form a long L. This is going to come out and can't form a long L because this has to bend. This one must bend. So this one can't bend or it'll be the same shape. So that becomes the I and that becomes the long L. And then it just auto completes. I suppose that makes sense. I'm terrified of that. There's hidden 4s and 6s and all regions must have different shapes. Well, there's a 1 by 1. So this must come out and this must come out. And this is a different region again. But we've also got borders here. And every region can only have one of a shape. So when this comes out, no, it's fine, butterfly. This is a different one. But this is the one that's interesting to me, the green. Because if green goes this way, it can't go this way because it would trap in blue as a 2. So green would have to grow and now it's trapped in purple as a blue. So green can never go that way, but it must grow. And now blue must grow. But one of purple or blue, dark blue has to be a 2 by 1 because I've only got 5 cells to store them. So this is either a little 3 elbow and this is a 2, or this is a 3 by 1 and this is a 2. So none of these can stop at 2. So this has to grow. Now this has to come out. So this has to grow. This can't go into either of those cells. And yellow can't stop, so it has to come out. And that traps green. So blue can't come up and we get that. So I've now used the 1, the 2 and both of the 3s again. So this has to come out and then continue, which traps in the red. Yellow can't stop at a 3 and it can't come into that cell. That can't come into that cell. That has to continue. Hang on. Do I have enough cells here? This now must come out. Make it a more distinctive color. 1, 2, 3, 4, which I've got now. I can't do a 4 by 1. This has to grow because I can't do a 4 by 1. But where the heck do I fit those shapes in? I can see a way of doing it. I can see a solution. I think. I can see a solution. But again, I don't see the proof. Red must grow. And I can't do a 4 by 1, a 3 by 1, or any of that sort of stuff. So I can't just only grow it in this direction. But the one I want to ask about is that one. Because I think this has to just be a 2x2. Or a P. But if it doesn't take that cell, what does? Because this could come up and get it, but then this would be trapped into being very, very small, or trapping these into being very, very small. I'd be running these down to a very small number of cells. And if this came up to get it, then green would be trapped into 3 cells, which I can't do. Everything needs to be a minimum of 4 cells. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, leaving only 3 cells to grow these regions. But this has to take 2. Hang on, I've got a problem here. Now, they can be 4. Right, so each of these needs to be 4 cells. If I took more than 4 cells for this, if I took more than 4 cells for this and more than 4 cells for this, I could make, right, so this can take 4 cells, this can take 4 cells, this can take 4 cells, let's say it's those two, that's not the way it works, and one of these can grow and one of those has to. So each of them must take 4. They can't take more than 4. And I can think I can see 2 solutions. No, I can't, because I can't run red across as a 4. So if red ran into here, the only way it could grow into a 4 is as a T. So I could make that a T, that an L, that a 2x2, and that coming up. That's one way of doing it. But this can't just run across. It has to take that cell because it needs to take 4. So red must take that cell, and then that 4th cell is just that, and that's forced. But now this must get 4 cells. So how do I not have 2 solutions here? Ah, I see. It's this. If this took all of those cells, like this cell here is the key now. If this was green, then it would take those, and to not isolate a cell, that would be a T. But now this could only be taken by this region, and once I took those, its only 4th cell would be that, and those would both be Ts. So green can't come to here. So the only thing that can come to there is blue. And now the only thing, and that finishes blue, but now the only thing that can come out of this, this is a 4x4 with only one exit. So that does that, and that does that. Oof. So these are all 10 regions, and I need, oh, that's a 15. So there's 3 10s and 2 15s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I need 12 different tetrominos. Are you kidding me? How are there 12 different tetrominos? This must come out to at least here. This must be a 2x2 and then grow one. So we've got the P. But if I took that one, it'd be another P. So that comes up to that, and then that's a long L. Right, okay. So I can no longer use a P or a long L. So when this comes out, I don't know what that's doing. Pentominos, tetrominos, 5 cell shapes. Well, where do I put the I? I can't put it here. Because if I put the I here, the only way to complete this would be to make it an L and a P, and that doesn't work. So the eye is in one of these, but I can't put the eye there because that would leave a 3 region. That is the eye. I don't know all the shapes as part of the problem. Oh, you're talking about the X. Yeah, where can I put the X? This is the problem, not knowing that there are only 12, but I'll trust chat that there are only 12. So, I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. I know that because I'm not the smartest person in the room. So the only place I can put the X pentomino, or the one that's shaped like a plus sign, the plus pentomino, the plus 5 domino. Yeah, 5 domino. I'm not working with 3 dominoes or 4 dominoes. They're 5 dominoes. 3 dominoes, 4 dominoes, 5 dominoes, 6 dominoes. That makes more sense. So the only place to put the 5 domino, like I could put it there, but that's isolating non-5 dominoes. I could put it there, but it's isolating non-5 dominoes. And there's nowhere in here I could put it except there, which again is leaving non-5 dominoes. So the only place I could put the plus 5 domino is there, which is making that and then leaving a W. Let's make it purple for distinction. So now I can't use the 5x1, the plus, or the W. Which is helping me how? I know what I want to do in box 2. Well, the question is, where do I put the T? No, I could put the T there and make this. Yeah, where do I put the T? I can't put the T there. I can't put the T in here. Yeah, I can't put the T in this box at all. I could put the T there. So, and can I put the T in this box at all? No. No, I can't. Like, I think this is going to have to do that with that being the U. Because I can't put a U in here. It just doesn't work. But I think this is what's going to happen. But that's not logical proof. But what I want to ask is, where do I put the T? I can't put the T in here. Too much isolation. I can't put the T in here, too much isolation. I can't put the T in here, too much isolation. So I can't put the T in this box without chopping stuff off. I can't put the T in here without chopping stuff off. It has to go in one of the big boxes. It's a big box toy. And I can't put it in here. The only place I can put the T without chopping stuff off is there. And that forces everything, because that is now whatever that shape is called, and that's the long-stemmed L. And now this is forced, because where the heck do I put the U? Again, it feels more like vibe solving. And I don't know what the other shapes I haven't used are. One of them is that, but that doesn't work. Hang on, this may not work. Have I used that shape? No, but I couldn't use that if I did this. So my guess in box 2 is wrong. Because what could I do here? Because I can't connect these up because that would leave a P. So these are different. And this can't make a P and can't leave an isolated. So if I don't come into this cell, I'd have to do that and I'm isolating it. So it must take that. And if I come into here, I mean, I could do that, but then what do I do in this box? Oh, I see. I don't know how to prove that other than it's just what fits. It's because if I used the U in the other orientation, I used this shape and then I was isolating. I don't like the proof. This is really going into vibe solving. When you get down to the end, it's literally like, how do I just make the final 4 shapes fit? I think this is why I'm not so much of a fan of these as I am of the Sudoku. This must, no, this doesn't have to come out. Oh, all regions are size exactly 4. So this must come out and then this must come out. This now must continue. This must come out. This must come out. Actually, how big was this region to start with? But, well, there's 11 left. So there's another 4 region in here, but they're all different shapes. All. So this is either a 4x1 or a 3x1L. I don't know how many 4 region shapes there are. How many 4 region shapes are there? Wait, let's do a reset here. I'm putting in 5. How many different 4? So there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. So 1, 2, 3. It's got to be more than that. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it one of each? I don't know that. 1, 2. So that's the bendy one and the straight one. 3, 4, 5. Is there another one? I don't know. But let's say there's not. I'm going to trust chat. That must come out, so that must continue. This must come out, and this must come out. And now where do I put the 2x2? If I put the 2x2 here, then that doesn't work because blue would come up and run into too much stuff. If I put the 2x2 here, green would come down, blue would come down, and then out. That could be the I, and that could be the T. That does work. Okay, what about here? I don't know. There's options. So that just did work. This one didn't because blue is trapped. And this one, I could have an L, an I, but this one is trapped. So the only place I can put the 2x2 is in the corner. Now that has to grow. Now that has to grow. Now that has to grow, and that becomes the T. There really is assumed knowledge with this, isn't there? So each of these has to grow. This one has to grow, which locks this one in. So there's the 2x1, so this must grow again. This is a different color than green. Make it, and so it must grow, and it must grow again. It could hook up with yellow though, but green is now trapped, so it must hook up with yellow. Now this is a different color than orange. This must grow, can't stop at 2, can't stop at 3, and can't go up. So that's it. Now blue must come out. Blue could be a 3x1 though. And this has to be red, because if this was something other than red, red would have to come out. It can't hook up with orange. It'd have to come out. It still must grow. It still must grow, and that's forcing a 1x1. So this has to be red. And now, well, blue has to grow anyway. Now that, and blue, this has to be taken by either blue or purple. If it took blue, blue would have to come up, and then red would still need to grow, and that would trap everything. So blue can't come down because it's the same shape as purple. If it comes up, then red needs to grow twice, and it can't. So blue can't come down. So that is the situation. And now I can just complete it by completing red. Okay. I'm avoiding this. Let's, okay. I actually don't mind these. Hang on, how many? 64 cells when I'm making all different shapes. I'm real, I don't think I'm going to get much further through this game. I think this is a game that is designed at this point for vibe solving, and more it's becoming vibe solving, and I'm not enjoying it as much. So this red has to come out. It can't come through this, and it can't come through this. So it can't come this way, it can't come this way. It has to come out through that blue. It now needs to keep coming out. It can't come through that. It must come up and hit that yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, there's 12 regions. This blue can't be part of aqua, must come out, must continue to grow. Can't hit a yellow, must come out. Can't stop, one of these must continue to grow, but I don't know which. Can I do that anywhere else? This can't come into that cell. These can't come into any of those cells. This red must come out. It can't come through here, so it must come up here. And it can't come into there. So the only thing that could take this is yellow or blue, and whichever one takes it can't come into there. Okay, and that gives us some information, which is this orange region must come out and can't go into that cell and can't go into that cell. So it comes out and yellow goes that way. Yellow must continue to grow. Yellow can't go into that yellow, so it must continue to grow. And it could stop there, but orange must continue to grow, and it can't go into red or blue, so it must continue to grow. But these are now the same shape. So one of them must continue to grow, but I don't know which. But now this red is trapped and must come out. It can't go into the red, so it must continue. Now this blue is trapped. Now this red must come out. And purple must continue to grow. And that has trapped in green, which is the same shape as blue, and blue must grow. Ugh! Oh, okay. What have I done? Why couldn't orange come down? From where? No, this was all good. Orange can't come down. Now, maybe orange can come down. Let's not worry about that. But orange has to come out. It must then take the blue, which separates that. Yellow must grow, and yellow must still grow, which separates it from that. Yellow can't enter that, so it comes out. Orange can't take either of the reds. Orange must come out. I am going to isolate this off from orange in a moment, but I've got to do it again now. Can't take either of those, must take that. These are now the same, so one of them has to grow. But this red now needs to come out. Let's try and use a better color. I had it better last time. It can't go into the red, so it takes the yellow. This red must now come out, which means purple must grow, which has isolated the green. The green forces the blue to grow, which draws that in. Okay, we got there, but now we did it without assuming that that orange wasn't going to grow down. Now, purple has to take that because I can't go into the yellow, which means that's different. Blue must grow. Orange or yellow must grow. But this yellow has to come out now. So it can't go that way. And blue has to get to a yellow. And it can't come through either of these reds, and it can't connect up with orange. The only yellow it could hit without passing through something else is that one. So it must come up. If it doesn't come up, it has to pass through another red or another blue or run into another color. So it must take that, which means it's not purple, and that's separated as well. So now this must come out and must come out. That's separated. Now, it definitely can't take that cell. It may be able to take one of those two, but it can't enter where there's a red. This can't enter where there's a yellow, so it goes up. Now, this has to grow. No, it doesn't have to grow, but it can't stop at a W. And this must grow because it's the same as this green. I hate this. I really dislike this. Now, this red is a different color to everything we've had so far. Because every region we've got so far has all of its colors. So let's start. No, we can't do that. So all of this is 5 new regions. But some of these have to grow. These 3 at least have to grow. Or 2 of them at least have to grow. And this one has to grow. Right. Right. 2 of orange, green. Sorry, 2 of orange, yellow, and aqua need to grow, and blue needs to grow, otherwise it'll be the same as green. So, of these ones, 2 of them need to grow. And of this one, it needs to grow as well, or it'll be the same as that. So I need to take 3 more cells with those regions. But the only cells I can hit are that one, and that one. Which is, oh no, I could hit that one. Damn. So I've got to take 3 cells out of 4. I thought I'd hit a count of cells and I had to take, and I could have isolated all those off from the 5 at the top, but I can't do that. Because if I could have started growing from this red, but I can't. Because it's possible that yellow could take here, orange could take here, blue could take here, and this red could come down. Damn! But that doesn't work. Because if yellow took here, orange can't grow. Because if yellow comes into here, if orange took another cell, then it would be the same shape again. If orange grows this way, yellow can't grow, and this needs to grow. If this comes this way, orange can't grow, so this needs to grow. Whichever way you do that, this needs to grow. Otherwise, both of these need to grow, and there's no way of doing that because the only way they could both grow is to do that, and they're the same shape. So this must grow, and that completes the possibility of its growth. You don't need to retract the message, Butterfly. You absolutely don't. Oh, I don't know what you retracted. That now must come out and then come out again and then come out again because it needs to get towards a yellow. So we've got these borders because it can't come into the red. This is now a different color, which must come out. But now we've got a problem. Yellow can't grow. If yellow grew, it would be the same shape as cyan, or whatever this color is. Ugly blue. So yellow can't grow, and orange can't go up, or it'll be the same shape. So orange must grow that way. And now this blue must come out. Now this yellow, could be part of blue. Now this can't, nope, that's completely not true. Curious about this blue. Because these two blues need to get through here. Feels like this blue needs to run across, straight across here. But that's a feeling. I got a feeling deep inside, oh yeah. Is it the same shape? Oh, okay. See, this is the problem. I can't see these shapes. These don't look the same to me at all. Because when I start rotating these complex shapes, because of my visual distortion thing that I have, like if the shapes were moving, like it's a little bit easier. I can see movement and everything fine. But when they're still like this, everything is just a meshy blur. Like these aren't right angles to me. They're not even close. So thank you for that. Which means this has to grow and take that and can't take any more. So this yellow must come out, and let's make that a better color. Oh, let's make it yellow. Yellow stands out. Okay. And it can't come that way, so it must take at least that. Now this red must come out and can't take that or that. So it must continue. And this red must come out and hook up with, let's do that the other way, hook up with that, and that can't connect. Now it must come out and take that. And it could come up, but if it came up, would it match another pattern? But this needs to get a blue. I still feel this needs to go all the way across. If this came up, how would this get a blue? It'd need to pass through another yellow or red to get to this blue. It can't do it. This just has to run across. So this has to grow so it's not the same shape as this green, and it can't grow anymore. Now, and now it's just a long L and a P. Okay. Yeah, because these angles aren't right angles. Like this angle to me looks like it's bigger than a right angle, and this angle looks like it's smaller than a right angle. So looking at the shapes when they're rotated, they don't look anything close to the same. So unless there's a way of me grabbing a shape and then rotating it to do comparison, these are going to break me, which is why I think I'm close to the end of this game. Which sucks. Okay, all regions must have different shapes. I can't draw that way, so I have to draw it that way. Area is exactly 5. That must come up. These have to connect. So it's either doing that or it's doing that. Either way, that, and that. Can I actually draw the shape in and then remove those to maintain the same color? No, it won't let me. But all of these are part of the same shape. So I can see a way that this probably works, but again, it's just case testing. Like if I did the W this, oops. If I did the W, I thought I changed modes then. If I did the W this way, then I could draw a P in here. I can make that shape. This comes up. This becomes the long bendy thing. Oh no, that leaves a P. So maybe that doesn't work. And that doesn't work either. Oh, that's interesting. So if I do the W that way, this is forced to be a P. This then comes up. If this is an I, that doesn't work. The count of shapes is wrong. So this would have to then do either an L, which would force this to be the same shape, so it couldn't be. So this would have to do that, forcing that to be an I. And then that has to take those, and that's the same shape as that. The W can't come down. In fact, this is the wrong count of cells. I know, it just forces that P. But you have to do the whole thing to know that. So what's the logical proof here without putting everything in to know what the next step is? Or is it just do everything? If this game is literally becoming do everything and see what breaks, this is no longer a logic puzzle game to me. This doesn't feel like a logic puzzle game to me anymore, which is a real shame because it started as an excellent logic puzzle game and now it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. That's 5. This has to come out, which isolates a region. That's 5. That. Where have I gone wrong? Oh, that's 5. Sorry, that's a U. It may not be. Oh, it has to take that because otherwise we're locked in. This has to take that. Can't take that one, so that becomes an I, and that completes it. I don't know that they were created by an algorithm, Keith, but I think they would just... There is a puzzle behind that door. How dumb is that? So these are part of the same shape. There's no other way of doing it than that, because they're 3 apart vertically, so the vertical has to do that, and I can't draw the vertical there. So it has to be that. Except that's only 5. It has to be that. These are part of the same shape. So does that mean it has to be that? Is there another way of doing it? Surely it's that. That's the most direct way to connect them, and it's the only way to get there. So now this must come out. And it could take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and take that cell. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and take that cell. And then this would sort of... No, it can't. If this took these 5 and that cell, which would be the only other way to do it, this is forced to be that, which is the same as that. So it doesn't work. So this must hook up with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can't take that cell, so it's that. Then this must come out. So many of these puzzles... Oh, crap, I went too long. I'm only interrupting with a full deck. The full deck and missing a few cards puzzle that came out 10 minutes ago on this channel is one of the best puzzles I've solved in a very long time. So, I can't do something like that now. I'm isolating cells. So how do I do this apart from that without isolating cells? I can't do the 4 vertically because this has to come out. The 4 has to be horizontal. I can't put the 4 horizontal there. I'd be isolating cells. The 4 horizontal is there. And if I did the vertical bits there, I'm isolating cells. It absolutely must be that. You're now making me want to end the stream. You know that, don't you, Full Deck? So this must come out and come to here. And if this came out without connecting up, I'd be trapping red. So red takes all of those, and that's a 6. I'm not enjoying Mismatch very much. When they start giving me things like Mismatch Palisade, with grids this size or larger, this game is just over for me. I mean, this game is close to over for me now. So where do I draw this shape? If this isn't part of this shape, that would have to be the 4 horizontal, because I couldn't do the 4 vertical here. And then the middle bit would have to come up in one of those two, and the end bit would come down here or here. Now, it couldn't come down here. That would trap green. So it'd come down here. So you'd end up with that shape. Great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the wrong count of cells underneath. So this must be part of green. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the end piece. So that is green. Now we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're done. That's broken. So I made a mistake there. There was another way of doing that. I see. None of that worked. Because the 4 could go there. Or there. don't think it can go there, because then it would be like that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, no, that does work. I can't do it there, because then it would be that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that doesn't work. And if I did it there, then it would be that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That doesn't work. It must be those. That's very strange. It must be those, because that leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it's 2 plus 10, which is 12. That's bonkers. Now, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is a 6. Again, this feels like vibe solving way more than it feels like logical solving. Now, green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can't get to there. That's red. Red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, hang on. Can't I just do a bent T like that and make that an I? Doesn't that work? Nope, because that's the same as that. So, red can't come to this cell, because that would make it the same as that green. This is the problem, knowing what shapes you've used. Honestly, a horizontal one of those and a vertical one of those does not look even vaguely the same to me. Now, if red came to here, I can't see these. One, two, three, four, five, six. Red must come to there because green can't get that far now. If green comes to here, it's the same shape as that. So red must take that. Now red can't get to either of these. Green must take those. And if green takes that, it's the same shape as that one. So that's green and that's red. So every one of these must grow. That must grow, that must grow, that must grow. Now this has to be a different color than orange, but it could be purple. This must grow. This must grow. This must grow, but it could be the same color as yellow. I think it's down here. I think this is where the restriction is. So I could make that a T and an elbow. I could take an elbow. I could take a T and take an elbow. But this can't come up. Oh, sorry. This can't be yellow. So yellow could be this N or whatever it's called, but it can't come up if it does. Or yellow could be a 2 and this could continue to come up. Purple has to grab the isolated cell. You are correct. And now purple must come down. No, purple can't come down. Hang on, how does this work? Yeah, it has to be a T and an elbow now. Because if purple doesn't come down, orange, this would be 2 2x2s, which doesn't work, or orange would come out up, and this would be a 1x1, and it doesn't work. This must come down, and this must come up. Otherwise, we've got a 1x1. That's forced. Okay, so if red grows, it needs to grow again. Twice. Oh, so there is a 2x1 used down here. This must have a 2x1 in it. Because if red doesn't grow, there's a 2x1. If it does grow, it now has to grow again, and it can't leave this as an elbow or with a, and if it doesn't leave it with an elbow, there'd be a single and a 2x1, and I can't use a single. So I'd have to come down again to prevent there being an elbow or a 2x1, which means that is a 2x1. So there is a 2x1 in this region. There is a 2x1 here, which means yellow must grow and can't go up. And now there's an elbow here. But this has to grow. But this has to come out. And it can't stop at a 2x1, so it comes out. And it can't stop at an elbow, and it can't come down, so it comes up again, out again. And how the heck does this work? Because red needs to grow. But it can't come up. If red comes up, it needs to grow again. And while I could turn it into an L, that would leave a 1x1 or a P, but that would leave, oh no, that could work. And I think it has to do that. If red does this, it's the same as yellow. That doesn't work. Red can't stop there. Red can't stop. Red could stop there, but then what takes these? I can't leave it as a 2x1 or a 1x1. So red would have to take both of those. And if red comes into here, if basically what happens if green comes down? If green comes down, red can't stop there, it can't stop there, and if it does that, it can't stop there. So that doesn't work. Red absolutely, let's put red back in here. Red must take, no, red must take all of those. Now, this can't be a P. I can't leave this as a 2x1 and make this a P anymore. So it is that and that. And there's 4 puzzles that I haven't found in this area. Oh, they're all hidden down here. And there's one down. There's a, oh man, another 6. Okay, border, 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 border. So this blue has to get to a red. If I came this way, now it's possible I can come this way, but if I don't come this way, it's not getting out of this bottom area. So it has to come through here. And this blue is the same. This has to come through here. This red has to come out. Thank you for that one, full deck. Now this could grow a little bit, but not a lot. But this blue needs to get to a red, and I can't do it by coming down. This blue must come up to get to its red. And it can't, I still must get to a red. Sorry. What I was trying to do is these can't, maybe those could connect up. But no, if I connected these up, then I'd only have these 2 channels to get those 3 blues out. I can't connect those up. And now this must come up. And if I went this way with this blue, how are these going to get out? They're not going to. It's a channel problem. And now this blue must get out through a red. And if I did that, this blue is isolated. So this blue must come through here and this blue must come through here. I don't see any other way that works. But it might, you know. Now, these are all exactly the same shape at the moment. Now, if this red connected to that blue, I'd be isolating the other ones. So this red has to connect to that blue, and this red has to connect to that blue. And I've got all of these 3x1s. And the question now is, how do I make these not all the same shape? And that apparently is a 6 difficulty puzzle. Great. How do you do this as a logical next step rather than case testing? How do you do this as a logical next step rather than case testing? So I've got 6, 7, 8, 12 cells. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 regions. And 7 of the regions need to grow by at least 1. Which leaves me with 5 free cells. Now, what could take this cell? I mean, realistically, lots of stuff. There are only 2 possibilities of 4 shapes. Because no T's are possible in this. Right, the only possibilities of 4 shapes in this are L's and I's. And once I've used an L or an I, I'm done. So only 2 of them can take 4 shapes. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. And if I use 6 5 shapes, that's 12. No, that doesn't work. No, it could work if I have 5 5 shapes. That uses 10. 2 4 shapes uses 2, and 1 3 shape uses 0. And there is the 12. So I've got 2 4 shapes, 5 5 shapes, and 1 3 shape. And that runs me out of cells. So what can hit that? The only thing that can hit that using a 4 or a 5 shape is orange, because nothing else can reach it in 2 steps. So that is orange done. Now, the only thing that can take that cell is yellow. And what was it? It was... I wish I could write notes like down here that weren't deleted. It was 1 3. Actually, let's put them in here. 1 3, 2 4s, and 5 5s. I've used a 5. If I grow red to a 5, green becomes a 3. Now, there's a problem with 3s down here, I feel. Well, what can take this cell now? There's a couple of things, but it can only be taken by a 5. either from blue or from yellow. What can take this cell? It could be a 5 from green. Except blue can't take this cell. Because if blue took this cell, it'd have to be a 5i, and I don't have one. So the only thing that can take this cell here is yellow. So that must do that. Now, the only thing that can take this is that, and blue can't grow or it'll be the same as yellow. So we've got a 5, a 5, a 4, I don't see that yet. So what can take this cell? The only thing that can take it is green. And that's broken. This is wrong. So and I think there's still a mistake here. Now, it says this is correct, but I don't see how it can be. Ah, no, I see where I went wrong. No, okay. This must be part of this yellow. But it doesn't have to take it that way. It could take it that way. There's multiple ways of taking it. But this is a 5 region, but I don't know how it takes it. But either way, there is a border here. So there's 1-3 region. This is a 5. This is a 5. So I've got 2 5s. The 4 shapes I've got are a 4i and a 4l. And I must use both of them. Where can I put the 4l? It must be either bottom left blue or bottom right red. Yeah, could it be green? No, it could be green. It could be right green. So how... This is probably about what 5 shapes are possible, and I don't know how to do that. I need 5 shapes, different 5 shapes that fit in this grid, and I have no idea what they are. So I've already got the I. I could make a long T. I could make a long L. Which this is, oh no, I could do a, and I've got one more shape I could do. Well, one more shape I must do. But what is that? I can't do a P. Fat L. What's a fat L? Oh, an L that looks like that. So there's no other shape that could be done. So where can I do the 4L? It could be with green. And I could do the 4. But I think the one I want to ask about is this shape. Where can I do that shape? Because the only one I could do it with is this yellow. Because I can't draw that out of any of the others. I'd need to go left or right in any of these top cells and then continue. I can't do it with any of these. The only one I could do it with is here, which proves what we saw before of that. Now, yellow can't come to this. So we ask about this cell. The only thing that can get to it now is green. So this is done. But the only thing that can get to this is green without making this a 6 region, and then I run out of cells. So green comes to here, which is a... oh, good Lord. Which is a 5 region. And that knocks out that shape. Now, the only place I could... no, there's a couple of places I could potentially put a T. And the yellow could be the 4L. And then I could make the blue the T. No, I can't make the blue the T. Because if I make the blue the T, then the red could be the 4I. In fact, it's the only thing that could be the 4I. Then this is the 3, this would be the 4L, and this is another 4L. Blue can't be the T. So the only thing that can be the T is yellow. Now red can't be the long L. If red was the long L, both of these would be 3 by 1. That's the long L. There's the 5s. That's a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need 2 4s. And if I extended green, blue would be the same shape. So I can't extend green. If I extended green, the only one I could extend would be blue, and they'd be the same shape. So I don't extend green, and now I extend blue and red. And I'll clear my notes to give the grid. That felt like a 6. No one's watching this stream. If you're watching this as a VOD, please comment on the puzzle that you like. Like, subscribe. I believe you can even, what is it called? Hype streams. I'm not sure. There are more hidden puzzles somewhere. They're over here. There's a 3 and a 4. Let's look at the 3. So this has to be part of a P. So I can't use a 2 over here. Where does this T go? Wherever I draw this T, I'm leaving a single. Because the vertical can't, the 3 can't be here. So the 3 is either here or here. Look, there's no other way of doing that. 3 here, which would leave 2 singles going up. Or if I went down, I couldn't go down either. Yeah, I can't go down either. I can't go horizontal on this T. If I go horizontal, then the top would either be a 3 by 1, not possible, or a 2 by 1 and a 1 by 1, not possible. And if I go up, I'm leaving 2 1 by 1s. So that is the vertical for the T. And this is a 1 by 1. So this must grow and can't be part of a 2 by 1. So it must grow again. And there's the 3. This can't be a 1 by 1 or a 2 by 1. That is a 3. Great. Now, this must grow, but it can't come into there. It's not part of a 2. It's not part of an elbow. Well, it can't stop there because it can't be part of a 2. It must grow. It can't stop there because it's not part of an elbow. It must grow again. Can't come into the 2 because that's not its shape. And now we've run out of cells. That must end there. The 2 must come out and end, and there's the P. And I have P'd. How many are left? There's 2 more. I can only see 1. The fact that they hide puzzles... Oh no, there's one over here. Okay, so this comes out to at least there. I think you get... I don't know how many you get. It's like 4 or 5 a week, I think. I mean, my channel's never going to appear on a hype leaderboard or anything, but, you know, it's kind of a cool thing. That must come out. This is a different color to both green and yellow and must come out. But it could come down. This must come out. Can't connect to any of those. Now, green must come out and end. Okay. We do really need to arrange full deck for a time when I can stream, possibly a morning stream sometime, when we can get on together and do what we discussed the other day. Now, this is a different color than red. So how do we do this? This mismatch is... Again, it feels like vibe solving half the time. It could be 2. Let's ask Google themselves. Three. You get 3 a week. Refreshes on Monday mornings. Okay. So where's the logic from here? I mean, I've got a lot of cells to play with. 18. I can see yellow can't be a P here. Actually, I don't think yellow can go up at all. Might be able to do something like that. But it can't be a P. Like, it can't do that. Or it could do that, but it can't take those, because then this cell is a different color, which has to come out. Has to come out, has to come out, and to not trap purple, it takes another P. If orange doesn't grow down, then it becomes trapped. So if this isn't orange, this has to go up and up. Orange then has to come out. So this has to go up again, completing this. And then orange can't come that way, and it goes up again, and it can't come into red without being too large. So yes, okay. So orange must come down. Now, do we still have the same problem? If orange doesn't take this cell, this would have to come up. Orange would have to come up. This would have to come up. Orange would come up, and that's now 5, and this would come up again. And then this red is trapped because it can't take that cell. So that would be orange is 5, that would be the eyes 5, and red can't get out. So orange must take... The fact that this border here forces this cell to be taken, you can't do that in your head. I mean, that's right, isn't it? If orange doesn't take this cell, there's a border here, this comes up. There's a border here, this comes up. Orange now must come up, and there's a border here because it can't go that way. And this is a different color, so this must come up, and orange must come up. That completes orange. This isn't complete, so it must come up, putting a border there and a border there. Red has to come up. It can't come that way, and red is only 4 cells. So you have to do all of that to get that orange must take that cell. This is not logical solving. I would love to know from the developer what is the proper path for this? Like a puzzle like this, which is only difficulty 4, what is the logical step that isn't if then break, which involves you working all the way up the grid to put, like, if this cell, then border here causes break. That's a really long chain, which is not, as I said, it's case testing. It's getting your computer to turn around and say, figure out how many possible options there are by just trying them all. That's not logical solving. So red can't pass through here. Now that doesn't mean there's a border here. It means red can't pass through here. Stop, man. Red can't pass through here. So I could have something pass through here like that, and red could come down. Like, there's all sorts of options, I think. But the count of cells is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's 14 cells in that area, and I need to put 15. So something has to come out by 1. So there's something coming out. No, that's not true. Is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. But I could have 4 regions in here like that. like that, and then, or like that, and like that. That could potentially work. So I don't have... Like getting this orange was, I do not feel like was a logical thing. Orange takes either this one or this one. If it takes this one, I've now got a P. If it takes this one, what happens in here? It can't take this one. Because then yellow, these are 5 isolated cells, and yellow would become another. Oh, then yellow would be a P, but this isn't a P. No, it could do that. So I was thinking if it goes this way, it's a P. So there's no P anywhere else in the grid. Because if orange comes this way, orange is a P. If orange goes up, yellow is a P. So either orange or yellow is a P. One of these is a P. I don't know which. Why? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can't get out again. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can't get out again. Yeah, it's the same logic, but that's a lot of weird case testing. So orange has to take all of that and becomes the P. Okay. And that matters for purple. So we've got 15 cells in here. So we've got one more region to place. Yellow can't get. Oh no, it could. Yellow could be a T. No, it can't. I don't think yellow can now be a T. Because if yellow is a T, purple has to do that and become another P. So yellow can't come into this cell, or at least it can't end here. So yellow is not a T anymore. So this isn't... Purple comes down, then that makes it a P. I don't think purple can come into this cell. Because if purple comes into this cell and it doesn't come down, it's forced to do that. If purple comes into this cell and does go down, it can't come this way and it's forced to do that. So purple can never come into this cell. But this can't be the fourth color, because it would either trap in yellow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, yellow might be able to get out that way. This could be the fourth color, you know. It could be yellow or the fourth color. But purple can't come to here. So where does purple grow to? Purple has to go up. It could go this way, but it can't go this way more than once. So what are the possibilities? 1, 2, 3, 4 must go to there. It may go one more in that direction. But this is now yellow or a new color. I could see options. I could see some pretty easy casing here avoiding L's. Like if this is a new color, this can't be yellow and it can't be a new color. If this was a new color, it can't be yellow. Yellow can't get that far. The only way I could draw it is that, and I've got another L. This must be purple. And if this is a new color, I trap red. This must be red. If this is a new color and not red, I have to come down. If I come down, I need another cell. It doesn't work. If I come down and take that cell, I've trapped red. Either way I do it, I trap red. So red must take those. And I've still got a new region in here somewhere. But this can't be yellow anymore. If this was yellow, then yellow would need to do that, and I can't fill those two cells. I'm isolating those. And even if I do yellow that way, I'm isolating those two cells. This is a new color. And yellow can't get this far. This is the same new color. No, but maybe not. Hang on. Yeah, red can't get this far, but if yellow came this far, what's filling these? Yellow could get over here, but then I need to fill both of those with red, and I can't do it. In fact, this can't be yellow without green not being able to get over here, and I need to fill both of those with red. This can't be yellow. This must be red. And now that completes red. But what's this now? Yellow can't get that far. The only thing that can is green, and that completes the puzzle. And what I want to do is... Oh, there's one more. Do I want to find it and do it? Yeah, let's do it. Regions exactly 5 must have different shapes. I've got nothing here. So I've got to fill 20 with 5 different shapes. I don't think I can put a T anywhere. I don't think I can put an I anywhere. Like the only place I could put an I is there, but that would force this to be a P, that to be an L, and I'd need another L. I don't think I can put an I anywhere. I don't think I can put an X in because I'll isolate regions. And if I put a P in, it might be possible. No, because then this has to be another P. So how is this going to work? Again, it's just case testing. I don't feel like I'm logically solving these. But I feel this has to be an L. Because otherwise I'm trapping in the wrong shapes. Like, it feels like it's... No, that doesn't work. That can't be an L, but that might be able to be. No, that doesn't work either. This is case testing. Again, I don't see there's logical path to this other than suck it and see. So it's going to be unusual shapes, but like if I grow from here, I think actually the restriction is in here. If I grow from here, if I don't grow down, I can't then grow down, I have to grow out. I can't then grow down, I'd have to grow up or out. If I grow out, I've got the wrong number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I can fill it with 1. So I've got the wrong number. And then if I go down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 doesn't work. And if I go down there, I've got the wrong, or that'd be a P, but I've got that blocked out. So if I go to here and then to here and don't grow down, this has to take this. If I go to here and don't take this, then this would come, this is just case testing. It's not logic at all. This isn't a logic puzzle game. And now this comes down and I can't trap, so this becomes an L, and then that traps unless it becomes another L. So it doesn't work. It's case testing. There's no logical solve here. It's proof, but it's not logical proving. It's not like turning around and going, oh, okay, so from here there's an issue. It's do a long series of chain solving. And I don't find this anywhere near as entertaining. So there's a solution. It's a solution. Is it the only solution? I don't know. I mean, the game tells me it is. Do I know it's the only solution? Not really. And I don't think at this stage of the game, they want you to prove that it's the only solution. I think they want you to just find something that works. I don't think this game was ever designed for well, I'm reminded of like, you know, hunt for like really weird mathematical numbers, you know, what's the largest prime and all of that sort of stuff, and people doing formulas to try and prove stuff mathematically by logical proof formulas rather than just getting a computer to, is there, this is not one that would ever be tested, but, are there instances of chains of 100 of the same digit in pi? Like, people, that's not a one, that isn't one, but that's the sort of thing. I can't remember any of the proofs in math. One of the mathematicians in chat could probably help me with one. But the whole point of a lot of people come up with these mathematical suppositions and then they try and use logical proof and logical mathematics in order to prove it. Whereas some people just turn around and say, let's just get a computer to say, if we want to know whether there's one in the first billion digits, get it to give us the first billion digits and look for the case we're trying to do. One of them is elegant and a logical proof and could potentially be used for lots of other stuff. One of them is just brute force. This is a sledgehammer game. This is not a logical game. At least at this point, it feels that way. Because you've got to, like, if this, then this, then it just, What is the next sort of puzzle I'm going to encounter? Oh, God. Solitude and Palisade. So each region can only contain a single clue. This is a difficulty 1. Each region contains a single symbol. So there is a symbol in every region. So there's 5 regions. So if this went up, it'd go up again. well, hang on, this cell must be part of a region and then it goes there and ends. This then must go to there and end. This must go to there and end. This must go to there and end, and that's the puzzle. Because I must go until I hit a symbol. That's the puzzle. Solitude. So there is a symbol in each. So those are the borders, because I can't have the two in the same region. So there's a border. Now we know that this is true. This now must grow. This is green, and green must come out because it can't be the same color as yellow. Green must come out. I think this is just a yin yang. Yellow must grow. Therefore, green must grow. Green must grow. Border. Green must grow. Actually, that's green must grow. Yellow must grow. Border, border. Yellow must grow. Green must grow. Green must grow. Border, border. Yellow. Hang on. I've got ahead of myself here. What the heck is going on? Green must come out. Yellow must grow. Green must come out. Green must come out. Green must come out. Forget the borders. Yellow must grow. Green must come out. This must be yellow. Oh, it's that. One more and then I'm going to bed. This must come out. That's all that symbol is telling me. It can't come into here. So solitude, palisade, and polyomino. This is 4 vertical. Hang on. How do I pick up this cell? This must be yellow. It can't be part of the 4x1 and the T can't reach it. This is yellow. So yellow must continue to grow. And this now has to be vertical, because if this was horizontal, then yellow can't get through. So that is a vertical green. And this is something else other than yellow, but yellow must now get out. This is not yellow. Yellow must get out. That is not yellow. Yellow must get out. This now forces that to be that shape. Yellow must get out. Forcing T to be that shape, just forced. Yellow must get out. Yellow must get out. The L can't run this way, make it red, because then I've separated them. And I can't do that because that'll separate yellow as well. So the 3 length for red must be there, which means this becomes yellow. Red can't do that because that'll separate. That's red and yellow does that. Okay, these ones I'm enjoying. The ones that we were getting to over here, I wasn't. So maybe what I need to do is unlock the areas, and when I start getting to the puzzles where I feel like this isn't logical solving anymore, just give up on them. And then this is something you see, and I'm going to end the stream soon, so you can go check out that amazing full deck and missing a few cards puzzle. I'm pretty certain Twister got released tonight. Let me check. Let me check. Yes, Twister has been released. It's already at 100 views. Cool. Twister is a great puzzle. You see this a lot in video games, where in order to up the difficulty, rather than, because it's easy, and you saw this in a lot of video game adaptations of board games, rather than upping the difficulty, and then they haven't done this in this game, but what they will do is they will change the rules of the way the game plays. So, and this was one of the problems with a lot of, not early, but like back in sort of 2015, 2016, when a lot of these board games were huge, like they still are, but they were bigger than they are now. And a lot of video game companies were wanting to get into computer-based board games. Unfortunately, Asmodee has pretty much killed the hobby. But the way they would do their computer automated opponents was they would turn around and they'd say, we're going to do an easy opponent, which would play dumb. And then we're going to do a normal opponent, which would play quite well. And then they wanted to up the difficulty of those opponents and make expert modes, or hard and then expert and then, you know, whatever. And the way they would do that is they would change the random number elements so that the games would cheat. And you could tell this because with a board game, a lot of the people who are playing them, if you don't know the board game, you probably couldn't tell. But if you knew the board game to the point where you owned a copy of it and you had all the cards and you played it, you know, a dozen or so times, and some of the board games I tried to play computer versions of, I had played like 50 to 200 times, some of them. You knew the probabilities, like there are 100 tiles in the bag and one of them is a particular tile. So it would always be a oh wow moment when you got that tile at a really good thing, or it'd be a powerful move or something like that. But when you were playing against the computer in expert mode, it would spend 2 or 3 turns setting up until it would be able to use that one tile, and then it would always pull it, because that is how it was able to up the challenge. I remember playing Star Realms, which was a card game, and I was able to demonstrate to people there was a chain of like 4 cards that if you could ever build that chain, and you could normally do it at the end of your deck because it's a deck builder where you would purchase cards and then be able to limit your deck and sort of streamline your deck. Where at the end you start with 15 cards and you would be able to get these cards in, but you're always, like when you go through your deck, you shuffle them and you have to draw from them again, but you'd be able to get some cards out of your deck, and you might be able to streamline it that the 5 cards you draw, because you have to buy cards, then shuffle them in and bring them through again. If you bought the 4 or 5 cards you needed, in order to get like 3 of them into your hand, the odds of getting the 3 of them while you also have enough currency to spend them and everything is just really, really hard. At the beginning of the game, it's nearly impossible. But the computer would always be able to say, you would purchase a card, it would then bring out the perfect card for it to buy, for it to add to its deck, and it would do that 3 or 4 turns in a row. It would then shuffle its hand once and draw exactly the cards it needs in order to be able to play the combo. And you could literally predict that it would get exactly the shuffle it needs. It would shuffle 23 cards and pull exactly the 5 cards it needs. And it would do it 2 games out of 3. With a puzzle game like this, where they've run out of logical tricks, what they're doing is they're just making it that you have to use those logical tricks, but it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, and 20 steps down the line, one of them doesn't work. And that's no longer logical solving, that's just case testing. And it's blech. Sorry, Kana. And it's the same sort of trick. We don't know how to make this harder. So in order to make it harder, we're just going to make it you have to do more work rather than give you the reward. And we see this in Sudoku all the time, where it's like I've got to fit all of these logical things into the one grid. Why? Why can't you spread that out over 3 or 4 puzzles? And rather than have someone have to dedicate 4 hours to your puzzle, release 8 puzzles where they have to dedicate 30 minutes to each one, and they can feel like, oh, that was a nice puzzle, and then do it again and again and again and again, and they feel that reward without having to dedicate an entire evening and feeling those highs and lows of frustration. They still get those reward moments, but they don't. The chance of them walking away and putting it down and never coming back is way lower, and you can still showcase that cool logic. How many people in chat have read, I want to pick on easy books without doing just terrible things. But if you were to turn around to people and say, how many people have read, something like a Terry Pratchett book compared to how many people have read Brothers Karamazov, the numbers would be significantly different. And that's a pure difficulty challenge. Brothers Karamazov, arguably just as good as the Terry Pratchett books, but so fewer people read the Brothers Karamazov because it's such a harder read. It's a bigger time commitment and everything, so people don't do it. Why design your puzzles and your games to be the same? Allow people to pick up Artisan of Glimmith, play it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes without having to get all of those frustration points, and then come back later. Let them play it in batches rather than, oh, I'm playing Artisan of Glimmith, but I'm more than a third of the way through, so I've got to dedicate an hour and a half to it. Yeah, bad design. We'll see how I go. I'll probably just start skipping all of the 6s and 7s unless I get a lot of chat help. But I hope I'm not trying to complain. I want to try and make people think about what it is they're trying to present and why it is they're trying to present it. The extra challenge can be done by different logic, and you don't need to keep ramping up that difficulty. At the beginning, they said 7 is the hardest puzzle you'll see. But they keep trying to ramp up what 3 and 4 means. And it's like a 3 early on was not as hard as a 3 midway through the game. So their difficulty is ramping up, and it just, yeah. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I may try, and I don't like doing this, but I may try and do a fundraising stream at some point in the next couple of weeks, possibly with Full Deck, because I'm paying someone to do a lot of improvements in the back end and getting some support for that. Or I could just say, go support me on Ko-fi. That will really help me pay the person I'm having to pay for all the admin. But you don't have to. This is something that I'm doing to improve the quality of the channel and support the people who submit puzzles to me. It is not required for anyone to do anything. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll try and do more of this if I can. This has been a lot of fun. I'm rambling at this point. You should have all signed off ages ago. Thanks everyone, and as always, good luck with your solving.